So I just watched the video Disney's Adorkable Problem by the channel Modern Girls, which I had never heard of before. The problem as I see it is probably simpler than this video makes it out to be. The kind of media which helps people to grow is exactly what could bother somebody, so corporations would predictably want to avoid it. To a certain extent, I believe this trend was influenced by fourth-wave feminists, or at least their contemporaries. They deemed many personality flaws and situations inappropriate for female characters, asserting that they upheld the patriarchy. Ironically, I don't mind or even dislike adorkable characters. However, I do think that they sometimes underserve female characterization, which one would assume should be a feminist priority. But when you're talking about just a single film, it's probably not a big deal. You can have a bad character in a movie and it's not bad for society. But if you step back, my concern isn't aimed at the positive inclusion of certain elements in any specific film, which is almost always harmless. Instead, it's focused on the absence of particular elements from the majority of media content accessible to the general public. In short, flawed humans need flawed characters in fiction, be it movies or otherwise, to resonate with their own struggles. They need complicated situations with no obvious right answer and gray areas to get their brains churning. However, almost invariably, those advocating for fixing, in inverted commas, media seems to gain widespread social acceptance only when they push for removal of content from films, simplifying them and making them more black and white in perspective. This isn't a new issue. This kind of censorship has been prevalent since at least the 1930s in cinema, and if we consider non-film censorship, it goes back even further than that. And it's not harmless either, in my personal opinion. I literally think censorship has made my country tangibly worse. If film did not exist, then people would seek out other forms of entertainment. To me, one of the scariest things that can happen is for people to be entertained constantly without ever actually thinking. Because I try to be an intellectual, and I think that thinking is our hope for positive change and self-reflection and improvement. And it just so happens that the dominant form of recreation that we have, or at least have historically had, now we have video games and stuff, is movies. It takes us on a journey through a character, and those stories can get people to think and broaden their perspectives, unless they have been stripped of all elements which could possibly make people grow intellectually. And it seems like maybe that wasn't the point. Maybe they didn't start out trying to do that, but that's just where it's ended up at. Well, to be clear, there are people who believe that eliminating gray areas is somehow beneficial, maybe to society at large, or maybe to children. They usually can't explain why it's beneficial, but it's just that they feel it in their gut. They know it to be true. I wish that I had that public service announcement that Kazoom posted, where they were talking about how good and righteous they were, that none of the good guys presented on the TV film would ever do anything bad, and none of the bad guys would ever do anything good. And so, the children wouldn't get confused because they knew who was good and bad, so it didn't matter that people were shooting each other. It was creepy. Like, somebody, not only did somebody think that, but somebody presented this piece of bizarre, creepy propaganda and got it stamped and got it shown on television. Like, and a lot of people think like this. That like I think it's the same people who are afraid of Common Core. Maybe not. That's just disregard that last statement.